Welcome back to the Ancestral Findings podcast. Today we're continuing our 5-part series called Tracing Dirty Jobs of the Past. In the last episode, we looked at the unsung work of the night soil man. This time we're going deep underground, into the dark, dusty world of coal mining. Coal built the modern world. It powered trains, heated homes, fueled factories, and ran machinery in ways that changed daily life. But that power came with a price. Every warm hearth and every steaming locomotive had a human cost. And the people who paid that cost were the coal miners, men, and sometimes even boys who spent their days in darkness, covered in soot, chipping away at rock. Mining wasn't just dirty, it was dangerous. And for many of our ancestors, it wasn't just a job, it was the only choice they had. Let's step into their world. And on a personal note, this story means a lot to me. Many members of my own family were coal miners in West Virginia. I also have a brother-in-law and a nephew who work in the mines today. So this episode is especially close to home. Back in the 1800s and early 1900s, coal miners worked long hours deep underground. Most of the early mining was done with hand tools, picks, shovels, and wheelbarrows. They crawled through tight, narrow tunnels with barely enough space to stand up. Their only light came from candles or small oil lamps strapped to their heads. The air was thick with dust, making every breath feel like a mouthful of grit. Deeper down, the heat was suffocating. Shallower mines had water dripping from the walls and pooling underfoot. Some miners even worked barefoot to avoid slipping. Explosive gases like methane filled the air. One wrong spark could lead to disaster. And in many cases, it did. Mining accidents were common. Cave-ins, falling rocks, sudden floods, and gas explosions took countless lives. One of the worst disasters in U.S. history happened in 1907 in Monongah, West Virginia. More than 360 miners died in a single explosion, many of them recent immigrants just trying to make a living. And those who didn't die on the job, many of them still paid the price. After years of breathing coal dust, miners often developed something called black lung, a disease that left them gasping for breath. They might live to old age, but they'd do it coughing, wheezing, and unable to climb a flight of stairs. Even children weren't spared. Boys as young as 8 worked in coal breakers, sorting coal by hand and breathing in fine dust all day. Many of them were permanently injured or suffered lung damage before they ever reached adulthood. Women played their part too, often working above ground. Some cleaned and processed coal. Others ran the households in mining camps, raising children in company housing and making do with whatever their husbands brought home, often paid in company tokens, not cash. So how do you know if someone in your family was a coal miner? Start by looking at where they lived. If your ancestors were in places like Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Kentucky, Illinois, or Ohio, there's a good chance they were connected to the coal industry. In the U.S., the census records from the 1800s and early 1900s often list occupations like miner, coal heaver, coal loader, or mine laborer. Mining companies sometimes kept detailed employee records. Some of these have survived and are stored in local archives or historical societies. You might even find old pay stubs, housing ledgers, or scrip. Those were tokens miners could use at the company store. Union records, especially from the United Mine Workers of America, can also be incredibly helpful. And don't overlook newspaper articles. Back then, mine disasters were front-page news. You might find a relative's name listed in accident reports or in coverage of a strike or labor rally. Here's something interesting. Many mines issued brass tokens to workers, called checks. Each miner had one, and he'd hang it on a board when he went underground. If there was an accident, rescue teams used those tags to see who was still missing. Some families kept these checks as heirlooms. If you have one, that's a powerful connection to your past. Now, let's talk about some famous names connected to mining. Herbert Hoover, yes, the future president, started as a mining engineer. While he wasn't hauling coal himself, he spent time underground managing operations and facing the same risks as the men he worked alongside. The English writer D.H. Lawrence came from a coal mining family. His father was a miner, and Lawrence's early stories often reflect that rough upbringing. Then there's Mother Jones, the legendary labor activist. She spent years fighting for miners, organizing strikes, leading marches, and demanding safer working conditions. And let's not forget John L. Lewis, the longtime head of the United Mine Workers. He helped shape labor protections across the country and became one of the most influential voices for American workers. Coal mining shaped more than just individual lives. It shaped entire communities. Mining companies didn't just run the mines, they ran the towns. They built the houses, the schools, the churches, and the stores. They paid wages, often in scrip, and set prices at the company store. It was a system that gave and took away at the same time. If a mine closed or workers went on strike, the whole town could collapse. Company houses were often small, uniform, and crowded. Rent was deducted from pay. Medical care, if available, was usually provided by a company doctor. Yet in these tight-knit communities, people helped one another. Families shared food, neighbors watched each other's children, and when disaster struck, they mourned together. Coal towns developed their own culture. Music, storytelling, and folk traditions grew out of this life. Songs like 16 Tons captured what it felt like to be deep in debt to the company store, with no way out. Even today, those traditions live on in Appalachian music and stories passed down through generations. So, if you find out you have a coal miner in your family tree, take a moment to really appreciate what that means. These were people who faced hard labor and constant danger. They breathed in dust, risked their lives, and worked so their families could survive. They may not have left behind great fortunes, but what they did leave behind, strength, sacrifice, and a legacy of resilience, is just as valuable. Next time, we'll head above ground again and take a closer look at another gritty job from the past: tanning. The tanning pits were places of smell, labor, and skill, and your ancestors may have been right in the middle of it. If you've got a hard-to-find ancestor you're stuck on, I'd love to hear about it. Just head over to ancestralfindings.com and click on Contact to send me a message. While you're there, take advantage of our free weekly genealogy lookups. Explore thousands of articles and enjoy hundreds of podcast episodes. We've been helping family history researchers since 1995. And if you're looking for even more, check out our Genealogy Gold Q&A series over on Patreon. Thanks for listening, and as always, happy searching.